Hello and good afternoon, Xbox Nation. Welcome to this week's new episode of the Xbox Factor Podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Mr. BoomStick XL. And here we are, folks, another Tuesday where I got to hang out with Jamie Moran, the elusive gamer. Infinite Umber, or should I say Unreal Engine Umber, should be here momentarily. When he gets in here, we're going to have a great time, great conversation. We got a couple of big topics to get into, one of which surrounds Jez Corden of Windows Central. He put out an article that upset a lot of people. And again, he kind of knew he was. It was basically why do you need an Xbox? And basically the headline of the title is Xbox has become only on Game Pass machine. Look, I love Jez Corden. I love the work that he does. I like what he does with Randall Thor on the Xbox 2 podcast, but I disagree because Game Pass isn't the only reason, in my personal opinion, why you should own an Xbox now and in the future. We're going to get into that. And then, obviously, we're going to have a segue conversation because I do want to get the chat involved in here and find out whether or not you, ladies and gentlemen, believe that you need an Xbox. Because, again, if you look at his article, it's fair. It's a very fair article. He's not trying to drive, clicks. Again, if you read it differently, that's fine. But I disagree with him a lot on this article. I think that the easy answer that seems to be go PC, Mr. Boomstick XL, you could do it, is go F yourself. I don't want to go PC. But we will get into that. We're also going to get into who's playing Doom. I mean, no one's talking about this. I am at level 16 or chapter 16 of 22. I would imagine that I will have it beat before the week's end. And I am just grinding away at trying to get every secret. And I want to say about half of the levels I have 100%. And the other half, I either have 98, 99, or one or two, I have like 93. And I kind of figured out what I was doing wrong. And there are challenges per stage that you have to do regarding the weapons that you find. And I wasn't doing those challenges. So some of them, whatever I did by accident. So I was like, why can't I get 100%? So I'm going to beat the game first. I want to run through the story. I want to find as many secrets as I can. And I do spend a gross amount of time on each level trying to find every secret. And some of the puzzles they're not hard, but they definitely make you work for it. But listen, Jamie Moran, welcome back, sir. Doom is out. Expedition 33 continues to just suck up the air of gaming. I think this game is going to really run the gambit. I know Umbra has given it a 10 out of 10. I know that Randall Thor 19 has given it a 10 out of 10. I am sadly and almost embarrassed to say that I haven't even finished chapter 1 because, quite frankly, I had to finish reviewing Doom. Yesterday, if you missed it, I did an unboxing on everything. And I got to tell you, folks, this is why I don't do videos. It took me about 6 hours. Now, the setting up for the camera and and presenting the stuff on the turntable, that's easy. Talking, no script, shoot from the hip, just talk about my excitement, easy. I got to tell you, the production that came in on the back end for having to cut down this video, I want to say that in a 12-minute, or I think it's 12, maybe even a little bit, maybe it's 14 minutes. It probably took me about 4 hours to cut. I cut into this video that was originally, I want to say maybe about 30 minutes in total when you pieced everything together and then cut it down into a more digestible 14 and a half minutes, probably around 70 cuts. Like it was a lot. So that's, again, if you're wondering why I don't do videos as much, that's the reason. It's so time consuming that I didn't even get a chance to work out yesterday, and I hate myself for it. But, well, we're here today. I've already worked out. I've already did my boxing class, and I feel good. But, Jamie Moran, how you feeling, brother? Welcome back. We got a lot to get into.
Hey man, happy to be here. I'm in an extremely good mood because plenty of new games coming out. Expedition 33's eating up all my time. Oblivion has so much nostalgia there. I got back to Avowed. Just finished Region 3, which is really good. Should be finished with that by the end of the week. But yeah, I'm in a very good mood. Lot of really cool game and stuff at the minute. I've also been playing a game that came out today, which I'll mention quickly. The review is going to be later on my podcast. Is for The Precinct. It's a
Hey, yeah, I've heard about that.
Yeah, it's basically a reverse GTA game where you play as a police officer in this small open world city. It's super cool. I think if people want something that's kind of like GTA but a bit different, that's going to be something people want to play. It's not third person, it's not top down, it's somewhere in between, but super cool game. I'm in a good mood, man. Like if anyone's down about games at the minute, they're not really finding the right games to play.
I am going to say this. Look, this is a Xbox podcast, ladies and gentlemen. I think you know that. I've been doing this for many, many years with many, many different co-hosts. But everyone is welcome. If you're a PlayStation guy or gal, please come and hang out. You're a gamer, you're welcome. You play on PC, great. You play on Switch, awesome. You play on everything like me except for PC, even better. I'm gonna be honest with you. I understand that this world kind of sucks, and a lot of people are, don't like the leadership in their country, town, whatever. And I get all of that. But if you are a gamer, I find it so hard to understand how you can't be excited about games and somehow, some way, have to look at it from a negative point of view. Like it doesn't make any sense to me whatsoever. But again, we try to push positivity here. If you are an a-hole, expect to get bounced by Lethal Papa, who is the best mod in the business. And like I've said many, many times before, he walks silently and carries a ginormous pause of a band stick. And you know what? That's why this chat is as great as it is. But look, let's get right into the Jez Corden article. Now, again, this is no beef with Jez. I love the work that he does, but I 1000% disagree with this headline. And he basically says, and I quote, Xbox has become a Game Pass machine. Is it enough to justify Microsoft's console? Well, that's a question that we're going to tackle, Jamie Moran, because again, I will add this story with a link. So if you'd like to read it from start to finish, you can in fact do it. But I 1000% disagree with this article because, at least for me, I think that when you want to have a surface conversation where it has no context and it's as simplistic as possible, you can start with, well, Xbox Game Pass would be the reason why I'm subscribed, right? Because of the value proposition. And you wouldn't be wrong for having that conversation, Jamie Moran in chat. You just wouldn't, because quite frankly, the amount of games that you get for your service is unmatched. Nintendo service is emulation of old games, and that's it. You get to play games, and I'm excited for it. Folks, I know you're probably gonna make fun of me for saying this. Do you know how often I play Wave Race 64? Like, why do I play that game when there are so many games that have better water physics, that are on jet skis? Because I love Nintendo, yeah, good, bad, or otherwise, and there are a bunch of a-holes at Nintendo, especially what they're doing with Pocket Pair and Pal World. But I like Nintendo because I started when I was 15 with my first Nintendo, and I haven't looked back. I don't apologize for that. Sony's service, we know, it's okay, right? Like it does occasionally get a new game in there, but not really so much from first party. As a matter of fact, when they do put their first party games in there, they are very old, and you know what? Some of them even get removed on a regular basis, which is kind of really crummy. Especially when when they try to sell it back to you in a remaster, right? So that kind of sucks. So again, from the surface level, ladies and gentlemen, sure, Xbox Game Pass, awesome. Why? Value, inherent value. Hard to argue what you get in Xbox Game Pass. But at least for me, Jamie Moran, I think that's the surface. And I think there is a lot of layers to this. You and I were having a conversation in the green room regarding why have Xbox hardware. Well, let's just start off with the most simplistic one from Mr. BoomStick XL. And I'm going to challenge anyone that says, well, Boom, just buy a PC or get a pre-built. It's not that big of a deal. No big deal with updates. And listen, here's the thing, folks. I can get a $5,000 rig today, made from the ground up with the best of the best of the best. And you know why I don't do that? One, because we're saving for our first home. So obviously priorities or hashtag priorities. But more so, I don't give a flying shit about PC gaming. I just don't. I understand that you can get your games cheaper. I understand that you can get games that are not available. But that is why the idea or the ideology of Xbox's next piece of hardware incorporating the best of PC, but keeping it for people like me and people like you. I know there's a lot of people in this chat that are looking forward to next generation hardware because, yes, it is going to be powerful. Yes, it's going to potentially allow for, good old games and Epic Game Store, and more importantly, Steam. You better download all your Steam library and buy games directly from there. Put it on your Xbox and go. That's the future. And that is why the next piece of hardware is probably going to be a bit pricey. We've already talked about that many times before. But even more than that, it is going to appeal to people like me who understand PC gaming, Jamie Moran, but do not want any part of it. So when Jez alludes to it, well, I don't know why you'd have an Xbox when you can just have a PC. I don't get that. Let's talk about that for a second.
I mean, I'll get it out of the way quickly before I continue with what we're talking about. PC gaming isn't for me. I think PCs, like, you have access to basically every game that's ever been made, via emulation or whatever. It's like, you have mods and all that stuff. You have actual like proper ray tracing, path tracing, which is like next level stuff. And like I play one game on PC basically that isn't even on console, right? And I don't think this game could even go to console. So like that's why I play that one game there. I don't like gaming on PC. It's not for me. But like I'm a console gamer. I've played consoles my entire life. I gravitate. I used to be a PlayStation guy back in the day before Xbox was a thing. And then the second that original Xbox came out, and it had that controller that was so large, it had its own gravitational pull. I loved it, right? I loved the offset thumbsticks. I loved the fact that it had this thing called a hard drive and you didn't need a memory card, right? It was a new thing for me, the fact that you could burn your CDs onto the console and then use it during WWF Raw. For your entrance music, right? That was like mind blowing at the time, right? And like I gravitated from being a PlayStation fan back then to being an Xbox fan. And then they came out with more features over years like Xbox Live and Party Chat, and then with the 360 achievements and all that stuff. So like over time, like I've been engrossed in the Xbox ecosystem. I know how it works. I know basically everything about the Xbox ecosystem at this point. And I gravitate towards Xbox because of their games. Because they used to be the dude bro shooter box, right? And over time, that's kind of gone away. They actually have everything. They have shooters, tactical games, flight simulators, racing games, horror games coming, all sorts. So like for me, it's all about the variety. I like the ecosystem. I think Xbox is way more than a Game Pass box, right? Yeah, Game Pass is great, especially in a time where a lot of publishers and Microsoft is wanting to charge $80 for games, but like the amount of value I've had off Game Pass is bloody ridiculous, right? You get full like major games day one. You have big third-party games launching in the service, many indie games, but you also get a lot of other bonuses as well. There's the perks. Sometimes you get like 3 or 4 months of Spotify Premium or other services. You have discounts of games. Like And I've never looked at Xbox as a Game Pass machine. Xbox is far more than that. You have backwards compatibility with over 600 360 games. Most of those games, those 600 360 games, aren't available on PlayStation or Nintendo because they don't have backwards compatibility like that. We have, I think, around 100 original Xbox games backwards compatible. We have free upgrades. Like, for me, Xbox is Xbox. It's not a Game Pass machine. And I think there's far more to Xbox than just being, subscribed to a service because, like, look, all the people that have been, saying, oh, they can't wait to play Forza on PlayStation and all this stuff, like, they had no intention of buying an Xbox. They never did, right? They just want it. And this whole support the devs thing, they don't mean that. They mean support PlayStation. They will only buy games that are on PlayStation. They've been so engrossed in that ecosystem that they don't want to try anything else, right? So, like, that's why we see that people want the death nail on Xbox. Because, like, if Xbox went away tomorrow, right, what's the landscape going to look like? PlayStation could charge $120 for whatever game they wanted.
Correct.
Like, you'd basically have one major console for major third-party releases, right? Competition would be basically gone, right? People say there's no competition at the minute. That's just dumb. Like, there would literally be no competition at the minute. You'd have IGN, GameSpot. They would not actually have anything to talk about because everything they post about is literally console war fodder. They wouldn't, you can see a post from IGN and think, okay, their rent is definitely due because they pop out with some like Xbox negative post. But like, if Xbox went away, what do they post about? What do these PlayStation fans and PlayStation content creators talk about? Nothing. They can't talk about anything anymore. Do we start drumming up a war between Xbox and PlayStation? Sorry, between PlayStation and Nintendo?
Yeah, I knew that's where you were going. Yeah.
And like, look, I think, Jez Corden, great guy. I like his content. Xbox and Game Pass, they do go hand in hand at the minute, right? But there's far more to Xbox than that. And that there's the built-in community. There's the fact that you have tens of millions of gamers. That's the number people forget about, right? There's tens of millions of gamers on Xbox. Tens of millions. There's not third-party publishers looking at Xbox thinking, why should I put my games on Xbox if they're putting games on PlayStation? I'll mention it. Chris String, that article was straight out of his arse. It was, right? And the fact that people went with it, it just blew my mind because there's more publishers putting their games on Xbox than ever before. You have Square Enix, even though they are taking their bloody time putting Final Fantasy games on Xbox, they are bringing more games over. Like, I feel like I'm taking crazy pills at this moment in time because, like, Xbox, they're coming out with so many cool games, right? And the only thing people can complain about is that they are putting their games on other platforms.
And that's really the crux of the conversation, my brother. There you go.
Yeah, and they aren't talking about, like, oh, hey, where's this PlayStation roadmap? Why aren't they coming out with a showcase ever, right? Why do they keep diddling their fans over things like cloud saves, right? Nobody wants to talk about that stuff. We want to talk about, oh, it's the end of Xbox because how dare they put games on another platform? And you know what's worse? Let's go back almost a year and 5 months, right? Let's go back in the time machine, right? If you go back to last, like, January 2024, and that multi-platform talk happened, and it was just Nintendo and not PlayStation, I guarantee you no one would bat a bloody eye because there's been this ingrained battle between Xbox fans and PlayStation fans and in the media for like over 2 decades, right? They do not like each other. And Xbox has had like this negative stamp on it since they came into being, right? Everyone's hated on Xbox since like the beginning, right? We've been gaming on Xbox for over 20 years. Think about that, over 20 years, right?
Yeah.
Xbox has been around longer in the console business than Sega was, right? And people are still wanting Xbox out of the game. So, like, yeah, the multi-platform stuff is weird. Do I think Microsoft did it at the wrong time? Yeah. But at the same time, I'm getting really good games from them. They make excellent games now, and the quality of their games has gone way up. They're making variety of games, wide variety of games, and I'm perfectly happy with that. So, like, the fact that they put in games on other platforms doesn't really, affect me at all because more people are getting to play them. I get to game on my preferred ecosystem. I think achievements are very satisfying. I think trophies they feel like that cheap knockoff. If you go to the supermarket and you want, Kellogg's cornflakes, but
Are you saying there are no frills?
basically, and like there's something very cheap and unsatisfying about it. But maybe that's because I've just grown up with achievements. But I think that, why are people asking these questions about Xbox, right? Tens of millions of people playing the console every single day. You have, 60, 70 million people on Xbox One. We think 30, 35 million on Xbox Series consoles. People like to look at that number and think, oh, it's nothing, right? That is the most BS thing I've ever heard of, because that's tens of millions of gamers there, right? Companies aren't looking at bloody like thinking not to put their games on the console because of that number. Tens of millions of gamers is still a lot of people. And people like to think that, oh, are there tens of millions of more gamers switching over all of a sudden? No, right? Yeah, you're going to have some people that move over to PC and some people that move over to PlayStation. But if people legitimately think all of a sudden there's going to be tens of millions of more people just shifting platform, they're out of their bloody mind. There's this culture war on Twitter and on YouTube and in articles and stuff about Xbox versus PlayStation. And at the end of the day, what are we really complaining about? Are we complaining about that Xbox is putting their games on different platforms? Or are we complaining about, PlayStation not doing free cloud saves? Where's their roadmap? Nobody's asking the important questions.
How about a decent showcase that lets people know what they're doing? I don't know, not for the next 5 years, but maybe in 2026.
Yeah, but nobody knows, right? And and bear in mind, Xbox has been in a bad place before where they didn't have a roadmap, and that's going to be the same thing for all these companies. But at the minute, the really important topic that people are going over right now, the thing that's the end of Xbox, isn't that they don't have enough games, is that they have too many games, and a lot of them are going to PlayStation. It makes no bloody sense, right? And consider how much all these games are costing. You have all these third-party publishers that are really looking to increase the price of their games. If you subscribe to Game Pass, you get them, right? With your subscription, right? And some people will say, I don't like renting games. Boo bloody who, right? We live in an age where when you buy a game disc, it's not a physical game anymore. It's a license, right? So you don't really own your games to begin with. And most people call these games one and done anyway. You play it, you move on. Not a lot of people replay games, as I've found out recently. So it's like, what are people complaining about? Like, is Xbox a Game Pass machine? It might be for some people. But at the end of the day, is that really a bad thing? Because for me, it's an everything box, right? I watch my Blu-rays on it. I listen to my music on it. I play my Xbox 360 collection, or at least a large portion of them. My original Xbox games, right? I have more games on this one box because of backwards compatibility. I have free upgrades. Nintendo charges for backwards compatibility via a subscription service. Nobody bats an eye, right?
Nope.
Nintendo Online, can you play, Zelda Wind Waker on your Switch via just buying the game? No, you can't do that. The games you bought on your 3DS back in the day, can you play, Super Mario 3? No, you can't. You don't own that game anymore. You have to play it via subscription. Nobody's asking the right questions. Hell, you have, Nintendo, and I like Nintendo as a company, but like you have Nintendo, they are basically telling Power World that they can't have flying animals in their game, right? So it's like
ridiculous. Yeah.
Right. People are asking the wrong questions, and console warring over. Well, they shouldn't be console warring anyway, but people are concerning about the wrong stuff. And yeah, you have these people that they hate Xbox on a daily basis. But I can tell you this, Boom, I know for a fact that there's people that on their podcasts and channels that they hate on Game Pass every single week. I know for a fact that they subscribe to Game Pass because they genuinely see value in it.
Yep, but they'll tell you otherwise live on the air. There's a lot of falsisms, if you will, going on, especially with some of the content creators. Now, again, normally we don't name the names here, but that Christopher Dring article that you brought up, what got him into trouble is he talked about it on his podcast. And again, he got in trouble. I mean, is he going to get suspended or something? No, but he got really tanked, if you will, on the socials, and he went on a blocking spree because, of course, people came at him. And again, listen, don't bully anyone, folks. Yeah, Christopher Dring's an asshole, but to be bullied, I can't sign off and subscribe to that. So yeah, he's a hack of a journalist for sure, but bullying, I'm not going to sign off on. But listen, you put yourself out there, like I mean, who was it that said this? Uh, play stupid games, win stupid prizes. That's Fuzzy Belvedere said that. That's right. That's a Fuzzy Belvedere ism. And I love that. And that's exactly what wound up happening. He said this, and in fact, he got trolled so much that he had to come out with a bullet point, explanation as to what he actually meant. No, don't do that. Just say what you mean. And he has a hard on for Xbox. It's been like that forever. But we have to welcome in Infinite Umbra, my brother from Chi-Town. What's going on, dude? Welcome back. Great to have you here. I know that you came in on the back end, but the question that we're asking is Xbox only an Xbox Game Pass machine? I say nay. Obviously, you've heard what Jamie, the elusive gamer, had to say, but we're interested, Umbra, to hear what you have to say.
Well, first off, good morning to both of you gentlemen, and
good morning, kind sir.
Yes. I see the Doom gameplay here. It's looking good. Yeah, I mean, I look at it a few ways, and yes, I do remember Take Him Abdel, and he blocked me, by the way, after I called him out.
What a surprise.
Yeah, dude is soft. But anyway, I look at it a few ways. For me, for my needs, I use Game Pass as that thing, right? And I'm playing it on PC. Most of my games I'm getting from Microsoft Xbox. I don't know if that's a bad thing. So I think the way he's framing it in the article, maybe it comes off that way, and it comes off more negative than it should. But for me, that doesn't really matter. I get what I need from Xbox. So because of that, I'll never be leaving Xbox. And also, there are people who don't care for Game Pass. There are plenty who want to own their games, as they would say, right? Even though we know they don't really own the game, but people want to own their game. So it's not just for Xbox, Game Pass rather. And I think too, the argument breaks down to, well, because the way he framed it, I believe in the article was, well, would I rather get this for Game Pass itself, or how did he word it? I had the article pulled up.
Yeah, I have it in front of me. Let's see. Well, here's one of the questions. Why should I buy an Xbox? Seriously, is Game Pass tempting enough to convince anyone to buy a Microsoft's console, especially since subscriptions have basically become flat? And he subquotes Matt Piscatella regarding his statements about subscription services maybe kind of leveling out and not increasing. But we just learned, and that's why I don't want to say it's a full statement, but it's a misguided one, because Game Pass for PC went up 45% year over year. So that's still a subscription service, even though it's on PC. Now, that's not where I'm going to play, and I've already gone over why that is, but there you go.
Also, too, we don't know the future plans, right? Like, I think a lot of people were already like, oh, it's going to be day and date for all these. Let's say they're not. So let's say Microsoft is bringing the games to PlayStation. Now, you could sit by and wait for it to come there. There is that argument, and you can have everything as far as the main two go. You can say that. This doesn't hurt Microsoft per se, but obviously, right? But I mean, if you're a gamer and the consumer saying, what's the best thing for me? Well, that's something you have to decide. For me, most Xbox IP appeal to me, and that even goes for the things they've acquired. And that's not a fanboy statement. It's just how I feel about it when it comes to these. If I'm looking at both first party comparatively, and I'm not saying I don't like plenty of PlayStation games, because I do, but overall, it's always going to be Xbox. So his question was, is it enough to buy a $400 to a $600 Xbox, to get in the ecosystem? Would I buy a console with a subscription-based service as its main pool, or would he just buy the console with games exclusive to his platform? So it turned from being, about Game Pass to exclusivity and another exclusive argument. And that's where I was like, okay, but I'm so well past that. And that's the thing for me, is like, I'm so well past that. The argument of, oh, exclusive, it's got to be exclusive. I don't care anymore. And again, I'm largely on PC. I haven't touched the PlayStation itself since Astrobot. I barely touched the Xbox because I'm on PC as well, but I am playing Xbox games. That's something PlayStation can't say. all right, or I can't say for PlayStation because they've given me nothing. And the same goes for our Hoove brothers. They just haven't been given anything. That's why Xbox is dominating right now on PlayStation. So the argument is about exclusivity, and I don't think that matters at the end of the day. You're going to play on a platform of your choice that offers you the best for you. That could be friends being dominated or dominant on that platform.
Yep.
That could be you enjoying the features of the platform better. That could be things like Quick Resume, which is one of the best features in gaming. You know what I mean? And there could obviously be Game Pass. That's a positive for me. I don't have the same mindset that I used to, where it's like, well, I got to buy and own this game. And that's not to say I don't buy games anymore, because I do. Right. But what a great feeling to know that in one of the most dominant years for Xbox, as far as releases and cadence of those releases, that I will get everything as soon as it drops, if not earlier, if I decide to pay like the little, early access fee or something like that.
Right.
But I shout out to Doom being ready and available right now for that reason. And I know some people hate that practice, but I'm just saying. But how good is that feeling to know that as soon as I boot my Xbox or my PC up, that I have all the access to all of that because I'm a Game Pass subscriber. So I don't look at the argument of, oh, the exclusives, blah blah blah. I don't care about that. I'm going to get everything I want regardless. And the same thing goes for PlayStation. I can wait for those games to come to PC. I'm in no big rush for them, right? The FOMO I would have would be tied to Xbox games largely, and because they have so many IP I love. Doom being one, Oblivion being one of the major ones. So my Mount Rushmore. We got South of Midnight now that I loved. We and there's no shortage of third-party games coming to the platform, despite what Dring had initially stated, or at least was taken out of context for him. I'm not sure which way that was, but you see some third-party publishers come out and speak against it, such as my man from the developer from BG3. So yeah, I think the argument comes down to, what do you prefer to play it on? If you're still arguing about exclusivity at this point, then yeah, you're going to do your head in, because you're going to be arguing, well, PlayStation games are not coming to Xbox. And I just don't care for that argument anymore, because it doesn't matter to me anymore. That's the only way I can say this. And I'm not saying it as a cope or to escape the any type of argument of exclusivity of PlayStation, but none for Xbox and any other thing. Well, Xbox giving their games over, they're not giving their games over here, and none of that matters to me. And so it comes down to, am I getting my best bang for my buck? Does the ecosystem supply me with everything I need? Do I love the controller?
Yes.
Is the value proposition there as a consumer? Absolutely, all those things are there. So I have no complaints when it comes to that. That whole exclusive argument just falls flat for me now, and I can't make it any more simpler than that. So I get his argument, but even if that's your argument, I don't see how it's a negative.
I mean, that's a great point of view. You guys have killed it. Very hard to even argue those points. But look, again, this isn't a slight towards Jez. This is an article that he put out there, and it's an article that a lot of us disagree with. Not because we feel the guy is being clickbaitery. We just think that his ideology from why on an Xbox is different from everybody on this panel. And like I said in the beginning, I 1,000% disagree with it only being an Xbox Game Pass Ultimate machine. Because again, Umber brought it up perfectly. I'm sorry to tell you, folks, Quick Resume is probably one of the best features that almost always gets overlooked for Xbox. You can go from, and Jamie has done this. Jamie has done video after video after post on X of when he goes from game to game to game to game, and it's seconds. No one else can say that they do that. As a matter of fact, there was a feature like that, not really that good, but like that on PlayStation, and they removed it. So Xbox, when it comes to doing different things, like for me, it's the controller. I know you can play on PC with the same controller. I get that. But PC gaming for Umbra is where it's at. For BoomStick, it's not. And again, as I've said before, I can afford the PC. No problem. I don't want the headache. So, guys, I want to segue into Xbox hardware because, Jamie, you said something that was super interesting that I really do think gets overlooked. We as gamers only look and talk about gaming on Xbox Series X, S, and PC, right? But we forget, and I'm included in that, we forget that there are millions upon millions of gamers still on the Xbox One and the Xbox One X and S consoles. Millions of people that are subscribed to Xbox Game Pass that are still on these consoles for one reason or another. Maybe their region of the world, it's difficult to get new hardware. Maybe in their region of the world, new hardware is last on the list of survivability because right now this world sucks and everything's expensive, right? Especially in other regions of the world. Sometimes we have this closed-mindedness, and it's not, attacking each one of us. It's just who we are. Like, we forget that there is a subset of millions of people that still play on old hardware, which is why the Xbox Series X and S, which may not be selling now, but eventually might find their way into a lot of these gamers who are going to upgrade for something like Grand Theft Auto 6. I don't think the default console of choice is PlayStation 10 out of 10 times of the conversation. I just don't, especially if you are an Xbox gamer and an Xbox gamer on old hardware who has Xbox Game Pass, who understands the ridiculous amount of value you get. So, gentlemen, and of course, I'm going to go right back to Jamie Moran. The big question here, and I think it was asked, is why do you buy Xbox hardware for next gen? Well, I really do think that, and look, I've had people try to come after me and pan me for this statement, and that's why I continue to say it, because I believe it in my heart of hearts. Everyone keeps thinking that because the PlayStation 5 is the more popular brand, and it's number 7 in the world, or most recognizable brand, and that's not an accident, folks. Sony has earned that. Now, in the last couple of years, not so much, but they are certainly working with a lot of political capital for their past, games and, blocks of years. I automatically go right back to 2018, 2019, and 2020. An amazing 3 years for Sony first party. There's no arguing that. And what made that even better was some of the third-party exclusive deals that they had in there, which made both sides even more greater. Their first party looked better. The third-party games exclusively that were on PlayStation looked better. It was a win for everybody. But why Xbox hardware? Well, here's the problem. And here's my thought and theory. Even though we don't have confirmation yet, gentlemen in chat, that the next Xbox is going to be different, right? Phil Spencer has said, when he was asked specifically to Paris Lilly, when Paris asked him, why should I buy an Xbox? He said that we need to make a machine that is going to take advantage and be something that has not been done before. And I'm paraphrasing, folks. And that's something that has not been done before, is incorporating the ideology of PC gaming on your home console. The PlayStation 6, make no mistake, ladies and gentlemen, and I've said this before, and I'm going to die on this hill, is going to be a powerful piece of hardware. Sony is not going to drop the ball with this at all. I believe that it's going to be the most powerful PlayStation they've ever put out. But here's the difference between what Xbox is doing and what Sony is doing. The PlayStation 6 is going to be a more powerful PlayStation 5. It is not going to be PC-based. It is not going to allow for you to play your PC games on this box. It's just not. Xbox. That's why this is an Xbox or Xbox Play Anywhere exists, which is why they're making a handheld to launch right alongside this mythical magical box. So again, that's the difference. So my question to you is, why Xbox for next gen? Jamie Moran.
I mean, where can I start?
Please, listen, take all the time you want. This is a conversational podcast.
I mean, like, let's look at all the people that stuck on last generation. That's tens of millions on both platforms. Well, I'll just make up a number: 80 million across, Xbox and PlayStation. Right? This generation, to a lot of people, it feels kind of weird because some people see it as an extension of last generation. Games currently, they look fantastic, they perform great, but fundamentally, we haven't had a huge technical jump in a very long time. Graphically, jumping from the original Xbox to 360, that was a huge jump. Jumping from the N64 to GameCube, massive jump. Super Nintendo to N64, possibly the biggest jump we'll ever have. We haven't really had that in a while. And I think a lot of people are still waiting for that reason to jump because, look, I don't personally think, and maybe it's just me, but I personally don't think that people will buy a console just for one game, right? What's the point, right? To me, you need a huge lineup of games to be able to buy into a console. So I think a lot of people are in that same boat. You also have millions of people, and this is the one thing that, by the way, I've noticed you've got quite a lot of PlayStation fanboys in chat today. The insecurity running wild. Anyway, you have tens of millions of people on Xbox and PlayStation that this might surprise people. They buy into these consoles and bought into them to play Fortnite, to play FIFA, Madden, Call of Duty, your occasional Assassin's Creed title. So, like, for them, it really doesn't matter what they buy. And plus, in the modern age where almost everything now has crossplay, you're not really incentivized. Those gamers specifically aren't really incentivized to buy one platform over the other. They are basically baked in fan bases at this point. So, like, if you're a Xbox fan and you have an Xbox One X and you haven't moved up yet and you play Fortnite, FIFA, Assassin's Creed or whatever, you don't really have much of an incentive to buy a PlayStation at all. Why would you move over? And you also have the other gamer where they've built up a catalog of games on Xbox over 20 years, physical and digital. Why would you all of a sudden give that up? Let's take me, for instance. Let's say I did this thing you see on Twitter where people lose their marbles, they switch platform overnight, they put a Spider-Man profile picture in the Twitter feed, and then they all of a sudden talk about PlayStation all the time. Let's say I did that, right? So I'm going to say goodbye to my 700 plus Xbox games.
There you go.
To my couple of hundred physical games. I'm just going to throw them all away, say, hey, that's tens of thousands of pounds I'm going to throw away. I'm going to start afresh. I'm going to buy a PlayStation 6. I'm going to buy everything brand new, all these brand new games at $80. I'm going to have to mortgage my house just to afford it all again. Right? Nobody's really doing that, right? It's like, why do people announce things on Twitter? It's not an airport, right? People feel the need to announce all this crap on Twitter, to get attention. Truth is, nobody cares, right? I'm an Xbox guy. I prefer Xbox. I cover Xbox. I think there's a lot of reasons to buy into Xbox. I always talk about backwards compatibility. The fact that you could play Grand Theft Auto 4 on your Xbox Series.
Great point.
You could play you could play GTA 4 on your Xbox Series X and S at 60 frames per second with quick resume. You can play Fallout 3 at 4K 60 with HDR. Right? You can play a Mirror's Edge at 4K 60. It looks like a bloody new game, right? Final Fantasy 13 trilogy. You can't play them on other consoles at the minute. You can on Xbox at 4K 60 a lot of the time. So, like, the backwards compatibility is just one thing. You have your built-in library, which have free upgrades. You have your free cloud saves to continue playing those games over. So, like, I think there's a lot of reasons to buy an Xbox. I see people in chat saying, "No, there's no reason to buy an Xbox because of games." But I mean, let's look at PlayStation, right? PlayStation, the same thing. People are going to, they have their built-in libraries. They're going to move over to PlayStation 6. All cool. And what exactly is coming out to PlayStation that's enticing me over, right? There's that intergalactic game. I like sci-fi, but I don't really know anything about it. We've seen, 3 seconds of gameplay in a vertical slice. Okay, I'm interested in seeing more of that. But what else is coming from PlayStation? Wolverine? Let me tell you, I've seen a lot of footage of that. I don't like the look of the gameplay. But, that was early footage. There's nothing coming from PlayStation that's enticing me over. So why would I move over to PlayStation just because, Xbox games are going there? Because of Final Fantasy games? Well, Square Enix has said Final Fantasy games are coming. They're taking the bloody time, like I said. But, there's nothing to incentivize me to fully move over. And by the way, I do, in fact, plan on buying a PlayStation 5 or 6 or whatever the hell it will be at that point, at some point, just to play the occasional game. But to move over, I think is a weird concept for a lot of people. I understand if someone actually wants to move to PC because you have, all the fancy upgrades and, you have basically backwards compatibility going to Zork, but to change, when someone says they're changing platforms, it doesn't make any sense to me. You're saying goodbye to your hundreds, if not thousands of games, all your purchases, your built-in ecosystem stuff, the community, your achievements, your trophies. That has never made any sense to me. It's never made sense to me. And let's say you're like me and you're invested in Microsoft Bing Rewards, right? Do you know how many times I've saved money because of Microsoft Rewards? I bought my Starfield controller, and all I had to do was save points for 3 months.
There you go.
I got £100 off my launch Xbox Series X. I've bought multiple AAA games, multiple indie games, multiple Game Pass subscriptions, right? So, if you're invested in the ecosystem like that, you have no reason to look anywhere. Yes, it's weird seeing PlayStation logo on a Gears of War trailer. It just is, because it's like an alien concept at this point. Mm-hmm. But at the end of the day, right, I've never understood the whole I'm switching platforms because of the games going elsewhere thing. The truth is, Xbox has been a multi-platform box for a long time. People have been saying it since they start putting games on PC. Do you know when people stop saying that? When PlayStation start putting games on PC. People moved the goalpost because it suited them. Right? That's the truth. And, why should people buy a new Xbox or whenever the next Xbox comes out or what it's called? And if Microsoft's listening, just call it Xbox 6. Stop the weird naming conventions. Right? Rip off the Band-Aid, and then you can call the portable one the Xbox 6 Go. Anyway, there's going to be a lot of reasons to buy into the next Xbox. And even if it's not like the whole Steam integration thing, which people keep talking about, right? Maybe if you don't like PC games, it won't affect them that way. But if you've built in hundreds of games over 20 years, you don't really have much incentive to be moved to move somewhere else. Because yes, would it be nice to play your PlayStation games and your Xbox games on the same console? But if you're not buying games on a PlayStation at the minute and you don't have a built-in library there, what's the point? It's all for clicks. People like to do this for attention. And look, I'm sure people on PlayStation that have called Xbox games mid for years, they're super excited now all of a sudden, right? But it's just another topic where people are wanting the end of Xbox. And I see it in chat. You have an Xbox-centric podcast and you have people hate listening. Why? Why are they here? It's stupid. But anyway, there's plenty of reasons to buy an Xbox, and the built-in library, ecosystem, and backwards compatibility are huge ones.
I agree. Again, there are so many reasons for me personally. Now, maybe if your reasoning is different, no one here on this panel is going to fight with you. Trying to sell me on a brand that's called PlayStation, well, folks, you don't have to go far. I own a PlayStation 5. Now, did I buy the PS5 Pro? No, I'm not spending that kind of money on something I barely use as it is. I use my Switch way more on a regular basis than I do on my PS5. The PS5 is a first-party machine. That's all it is for. If something happens to go into the service that I pay for yearly, which I don't even know why I do, but I do. I pay for it. Then I'll play it. But for the most part, it's a first-party machine. And quite frankly, there has been no real first-party games that I want to play outside of last year's Astrobot, which was freaking phenomenal. But Umbra, I want to bring you in because, and I really am so interested to get your thoughts and your theories, because you are a PC guy, right? You have a great or powerful rig that you yourself put together. And what's interesting is you're probably going to get the next generation Xbox. The big question is, why would gamers still want to buy Xbox hardware? I think Jamie knocked it out of the park, but I'm still very interested to get your thoughts and theories, because again, it's not just Game Pass, it's not just Quick Resume, it's so much more. And if this hardware is like we are, again, we have already been sold how powerful this hardware is going to be thanks to Sarabon. We have already had an idea that the next generation of hardware is going to incorporate PC-like gaming with PC-like power, but console convenience. And I think there are people in this chat right now, like me, who don't want to move to PC, but will happily move to an Xbox that is as powerful as one. And again, mind you, there is a subtext to this. There could be third-party hardware makers like Lenovo, like Razer, like Alienware, that will be able to make an Xbox based on the specs that you want and how much money you have in your bank account. And that is something that is going to be a reason why people like me, who don't want the game on PC, but will gladly buy a $1,500 Xbox because I can afford to do it, and it's going to have every bell and whistle that I'm going to have. And you know something? Ultimately, it is going to be more powerful than a PlayStation 6 because I'm going to be the one designing it. Get your thoughts, man. You're on mute there, brother. Uh-oh. Did he fall asleep live on the air? Infinite Umbra, are you there, kind sir? Oh, no. He's fallen asleep. Well, listen, while we await for Infinite Umbra to get back, because again, folks, he works midnights, and the fact that he's here every Tuesday is you know, we're grateful to have him here. Actually, while I do that, in fact, you know what? Let me catch up on Super Chats. There's been quite a few of them, and let me just actually ring his phone, because that's how I got him the last time. So just stand by with me, folks, as I ring Umbra's phone and try and wake him up. Let's see. Hold on a sec here. I hate looking at my phone during the podcast. Umbra. Okay, here he is. Umbra Cell. I am calling it as we speak, folks. So let me read the Super Chats, and then we'll get right back to Umbra's point, which I'm sure he is going to hear the phone and wake up. Do you, K Now, the broke boy insider, drops a very generous $5 super chat. And he says, not sure if you saw Double Barrel Gaming, but Microsoft announced a 3% workforce layoff today across all divisions, and it equates to about 6.8K people. That's 6,800 humans. That's terrifying. I did see it. It's a conversation that we can, of course, have on the back end, but I definitely appreciate the shout out and, of course, the generosity as always. We super appreciate that. Nino Vistic drops a very generous, he has gifted, as he's done before, 1 Double Barrel Gaming membership. So, Nino, thank you so much for that. Aloha to you and the family. And once again, thank you so much for the generosity. My brother from another, legendary Yovi. Salute to you, kind sir. Great to see you here. He drops a $5 super chat and goes on to say, yes, I'm a gamer of all sorts, but Xbox will always come first to me. Friends who've turned to family thanks to this community. Hashtag peace, love, life, love, boom. That brother will love you as well. And thank you so much for always being here. Do you, K Now, the broke boy insider, drops 2 additional super chats. The first one of $5. He says, we should get true indication of Xbox's multiplat strategy at June's showcase. They said their shows will indicate every platform the game is going to. It's very true. His third super chat of the day comes away of $2. So Will, thank you again for that. He says, can't wait for the next box and that makes two of us. I'm very much looking forward to it because, again, I am probably going to buy the next Xbox from Microsoft, but I do find the thought and theory of potentially having an Xbox built by someone else. And of course, if it's going to be built by Lenovo or Alienware or even Razer for that instant, you will be able to then go to a parts list, and I'm sure they're going to have like 3, 4, maybe even 5 different versions of an Xbox. And there's going to be the starter Xbox, which is probably going to coincide with what currently is available by Microsoft. And then they're going to have increments of better hardware, faster drives, bigger hard drives, bigger SSDs. And I think that at that point is going to be awesome, because if you are a regular console gamer and $600 to $700 is what you want to spend on the next Xbox because you're looking for power, it'll be there for you from Microsoft and potentially other vendors. But if you're someone like me that says, hey, listen, I don't want no part of PC gaming because it's not my bag, but I am looking forward to potentially having a $1,400 Xbox because I chose to buy the best edition, that's going to be dope. And I think that's the difference that Xbox is going to bring to the table for next generation. Let's see. We have Flip World. Well, Flip, great to see you here. And thank you so much for the very generous $2 super chat. And he says, another Game Pass commercial and cope session. Coping for who, though? See, this is what I don't get. And again, listen, you basically you're throwing your money away because you hate watching the show because you're saying that somehow or another it's a Game Pass commercial. First of all, I'm a man of the people. Maybe you're new to the channel and you don't know that. I'm as common man as possible, and I keep myself and my beliefs very shoulder to shoulder with the average person because I'm a retired guy. And even though my pension is really good and it has all the medical benefits you could possibly want on top of a good salary, it does have a ceiling. So something like Game Pass is a great way for me to be a part of the gaming conversation without having to lose out on buying games. Did you see my last video? Probably not, but I bought every piece of Doom collectible that you could buy. And I did an unboxing. I wasn't given that by Bethesda. I was given the game code to review, yes, but I bought everything else, including 2 controllers, a wrap, the collectible statue, and the freaking wearable cosplay helmet. So, yeah, having Game Pass allows me to do those things. And you know what? PlayStation does not, because PlayStation, what they do is they bend you over and you just take it. And that's sad. So thank you for wasting your money. Super appreciate that. Do you, K Now, the Broke Boy Insider, drops an additional very generous $2 super chat. And he goes on to say, don't think Double Barrel Gaming got the joke and the pun. Probably not. You know what it is? It's because I have 3 screens open, and when I read it, I try to make sense of it. And I apologize for missing out on the joke. But I want to thank Scott Woodford, who drops a very generous $2 super chat. He goes on to say, PC needs to be quick. PC needs to get quick resume, in my opinion. I absolutely agree. I do think that is, I mean, again, why it's not there, I don't know, but quick resume on Xbox is certainly a feature that a lot of people really, really like. But listen, gentlemen, and again, we're still waiting for Umbra. Again, I believe, folks, he might have fallen asleep, but we'll come back to get his opinion on why next generation Xbox hardware as soon as he finds it, and he should be up. But Jamie Moran, you know what? Let's talk Doom: The Dark Ages. Now, I know that you haven't played it yet, but you've seen a lot on the screen, and the Metacritic is out. It's been out for quite a while. I'm just gonna type it up and bring the Metacritic up. So I should have actually had this, but Metacritic. Let me see. Hold on a sec. And Doom: The Dark Ages, the Metacritic reviews is currently on Xbox an 87, on PC an 85, and on PlayStation 5 an 85. Why it's a little bit more on Xbox, I'm actually surprised, and that might be because of the amount of critic reviews. So, of course, we want to be as transparent as possible. Doom: The Dark Ages on Xbox has 25 critic reviews, and again at 87. PC has 59 critic reviews at 85, and PS5 has 53 critic reviews at 85. This game is going to be a game that is going to be up for I honestly believe, folks, because like I said, I'm at chapter 16 right now. I want to say, depending on the way I play, 5 or 6 hours from beating it. I know that they say that each level average could be about an hour because the levels are pretty big. There are some smaller ones, like you saw me piloting the giant Doom mech. That's not an hour. That's probably around 25 minutes, depending on how long the level is. But there are levels like this one when you're flying the dragon where it's not open world, it's open hub, Jamie Moran, where there are secrets littered all over the place. Some things require you to fly around and actually fight like hidden like sub bosses. Some allow you to land and then fight bigger sub bosses where you get upgrades to your health, upgrades to your ammo count, upgrades to your armor, and you can skip all of that. But I choose not to because I actually really like finding the secrets and I like being an overpowered badass, which I am currently. So again, I'm almost at the end of chapter 16. There are 22 chapters in the game in total. So I'm thinking maybe 5 or 6 hours. And I would say maybe by week's end, because I don't like rushing anything, which is why I'm the worst reviewer. Because I know like Jesse Norris, for instance, of Xbox Era, beat the game in 15 hours for a review and then went back and kind of got a lot of the stuff that he had missed in regards to achievements and secrets. I don't like playing like that, which is why I'm not a good reviewer, because I like playing the game as a gamer. And all my reviews come in with 20 to 30 hours of play. So I think that it's fair that if I do review it, it's 30 hours of play. I mean, if you don't know if you like a game after 30 hours, there's probably something wrong with you. But Jamie Moran, let's talk Doom: The Dark Ages, because again, this is it's just one of those games that I don't want it to be the sole conversation, but this AAA banger is an Xbox Game Pass. id Software has released another. I think it's the best in the series personally in my time with it. id Tech 8 is on display for your screens. Now you got to remember, folks, wait till you see this running on your own devices, whether that be a monitor, whether that be your big screen TV with all the bells and whistles. id Tech is one of the best engines out there. This is the new version. This is the id Tech 8. It is on display for you. It's amazing and it looks really good. Like I posted a couple of pictures last night and I had a few people, and again, I just think they're trolling. Why does it look grainy? Well, I don't know, because you're in hell. Hell isn't unicorns and rainbows. I don't know what to tell you. But I think it looks good. Let's get your thoughts on some of the gameplay you've seen. Let's get some of the reviews that you've seen. I know that this is a game that you're going to wait to play when it becomes available by the end of the week. Right now, it's early access. You could have upgraded for $30 and not have to buy the full game on Game Pass. Or, of course, like for me, like I bought the game because I bought the collectible statue, which is freaking stunning looking. It is really well done. It's probably my favorite Bethesda collectible that I have. And it's really well done. Again, it's PVC, it's plastic, folks, but the detail is crazy. Jamie Rand, let's get your thoughts on Doom: The Dark Ages.
Yeah, I mean, this game looks fantastic. I've always been a Doom fan. Like, I still to this day have no idea how they got that thing to run on a Sega Mega Drive. But Doom's always been fun. And one of my problems with Doom is that, not really a problem, it's just something I've wanted. It's like I've wanted them to lean into the cinematic storytelling, right? They have this super cool universe where, yeah, it's cool when you pick up like an audio log or read an email. I'm looking at you, Doom 3. But like for something like this, it makes sense to have cutscenes and a big epic story and what they're doing with the story, with it being a prequel, and it is literally a sci-fi epic. The game looks phenomenal, and there's more to it than just shooty bang bang. You can actually ride around on a laser winged dragon, which has to be the coolest thing in existence. You have these mechs that are basically like straight up from Pacific Rim. I did hear that the person that designed them worked on Pacific Rim.
Oh, very nice.
But like the game looks fantastic, and it being like hub world design, like I talk about Mass Effect on a daily basis. That is hub world design. I think that it's a perfect in between linear and open world. Best of both worlds. And Doom Eternal. Actually, I'll go back to Doom 2016. Doom 2016 had like it was very much leaning into, hey, this is the original Doom, but all modern, right? It was side strolling, side strafing and circle strafing around enemies. Pick up the red key card to open the door. That's kind of what the gameplay loop of that game was. But with Doom Eternal, they made that thing really vertical. There was a hell of a lot more platforming in the game. And, it wasn't just going around shooting stuff. There was legitimate fun platforming in the game. And I think a lot of people's negatives with that game was that sometimes it felt like there was too much vertical platforming. And they clearly listened to feedback, because with this game, like, you meant to be a powerful guy walking around killing demons. And one of my biggest gripes with video games is that when they try and make you feel like you are a powerful soldier, they kind of don't do that. They make it seem like your health goes down like super quick. I'll use another game for an example. If you play Warhammer 40k Space Marine, the first game, you are playing as this 2.5 meter tall dude wearing armor as thick as a tank, yet these little enemies that are the size of your leg can knock down half your health with 2 shotgun shots, right? So it's like, it looks like you're going to have a power trip, but you don't really have one. And in this Doom game, it looks like a power trip. You have more health. You can basically walk straight into, fire relatively and, basically destroy your enemies. And I think with a Doom game, you really want a power trip alongside an excellent soundtrack, lots of gore, vertical movement, a dragon, a mech. It looks like it's going to be the best, Doom game to date. And thankfully, they've moved away from multiplayer. I think Doom multiplayer, it hasn't really been supported well over the years because it hasn't really caught on. Doom Eternal's multiplayer, I never saw anyone talk about it. It seemed like a waste of investment because nobody played it. And then Doom 2016 had PvP multiplayer. I think it was 5v5, and I was in the closed. I think I can talk about this now. I was in the closed alpha for Doom 2016's multiplayer, and let me tell you, that is some of the most fun multiplayer I've ever experienced, but that never got released to the public, unfortunately. But the thing that came out with the game in 2016, it wasn't that fun. Time to kill was awful. So it's like putting all of that investment into the single player, which is what everyone wants to play, is clearly the right move. This looks like a huge single player game. It's clearly going to pay off. Hell, it's even got a single player expansion coming down the line. And yeah, it looks fantastic. What can I say? I can't wait to play it. I've got too many games going on at the minute, and if my review comes through, my review code, I'll probably ditch everything to play it. But until then, yeah, the game looks great.
So one of the things that you can't first of all, I have a nice sound bar, and I have a nice subwoofer. And again, we don't want to disturb the neighbors because we don't have our own home yet. We're working on it, but I keep it to a low roar. And one of the things that for me, you might have heard this during my review or my Ask Me Anything, that jumps off the page for this particular game. Or well, there's several, and I'll get into them as we await for Humber to try and get up. And if not, we do have another story to get into concerning Bethesda. As a matter of fact, this news just broke moments ago. It's very interesting, and it's exciting if you're a fan of Bethesda's work. But one of the things that they took away was there is verticality in the game, but it's verticality that is enforced, especially if you don't like platforming. Yes, there is some areas that you have to jump up to, that you have to solve puzzles to get secrets, but it's not gross to the point where it's like Doom Eternal was a great game, gorgeous to look at, super fast. But some of that platforming was just too much, to be honest with you, even for me. And I like platformers, but Doom shouldn't be a platformer. What they did and what they returned to about with Doom, the Dark Ages, is you are this hulking tank. And the best way to say it's basically if you took the Incredible Hulk at its best in the MCU and you merged it with a Panzer tank. He is just unstoppable. He is a brute force to be reckoned with, and the demons are afraid of you. There is no hiding behind corners. There is no, not running. And that they also added that, which by the way is amazing. You can run in this game at full freaking speed, and when you hit these demons, even some of like the mid-sized ones with your shield, you disintegrate them. And look, Satanist in the chat says Doom shouldn't have jumping, but it should have high flying dragons and giant robot fights. Okay, so I have to disagree about the jumping. I think jumping is amazing. And why it really does stand out here is you might have seen it. And again, unless you're playing it for yourself, you're not going to understand what I'm saying or what I'm talking about. So if you are on, let's say, like on the side of a mountain on a cliff, and there's your next, point of interest is a jump down. When you jump, this behemoth of a man hits the ground and a sonic boom goes off, where if you jump into a group of enemies, they get disintegrated by this sonic boom, and you feel the rumble in the controller, and you hear the sonic boom in your subwoofer and your soundbar, which is how now if you were wearing, let's say, for instance, headphones, I think that would be even better. But look, again, Doom Eternal is out for anyone that wanted to go early access. Early access is $30. I know that Umber had made mention of it, that early access isn't for everyone. Some people don't like it. I think choice is great. If you want to play early, you pay the $30. Usually that $30 incorporates some DLC, whether that be a soundtrack, an digital art book, which I don't really care so much for. Usually get some weapon skins or additional weapons for your character, and not so much just for Doom, it's for everything. But like most of the time, it comes with the addition of DLC, future DLC. Like Starfield had that with when the game, the $100 edition, and again, you could have just upgraded for $30 and you would have gotten that expansion. I don't know if you get both expansions. You might have only gotten one, but I actually don't mind it, and I always upgrade unless I'm buying the game. And more times than not, especially like with Bethesda stuff, I buy their collector's edition because I really thought that the Starfield collector's edition with the little box was awesome. Of course, the collector's edition with the Doom, the Dark Ages statue is dope. But I want to move on to a topic that broke right before the show went live. Now, this comes the way of Bogrod222 of Twitter. It's Tim Your 222. And what's interesting is it does circle and around Bethesda in a big way. So ZeniMax Media has filed new trademarks, ladies and gentlemen, for quite a few games that we have been asking for, one of which I believe is going to be a reboot. We've been hearing about this reboot for many years now, and also a game that does have a dude bro shooter guy who loves to shoot Nazis, and we've been waiting for some information on that. What am I talking about, folks? Well, again, here it is, breaking news. ZeniMax Media has filed new trademarks on May 6th, which have been uncovered for Castle Wolfenstein, Deathloop, Quake, and a possible new Dishonored. And I mean, goosebumps inducing for a few of these games. Now, I loved Dishonored 1, to where I not only played the original, but the updated graphical version, played through it, both of them, loved it. Didn't care so much for Dishonored 2, and I don't know why that was. Deathloop, I tried. I bought it on PlayStation because it was an exclusive, and it was okay. Played it on Xbox through Xbox Game Pass, and literally got to the same area and the same part of the game, was like, this is just not for me. So Deathloop, Wolfenstein and Quake, Jamie Moran are a horse of a different color, because Wolfenstein, we've been asking, man, what is the team behind Indiana Jones working on? Machine Games. Well, we're all hoping and praying to the gaming gods, ladies and gentlemen, that a new Wolfenstein that is just as gory and bombastic as what's on your screen right now is coming out soon. Maybe we get a trailer at the June showcase. This could be one of those games, Jamie Moran, that we haven't seen, and maybe we will. Okay, that's one. But see, Quake is another one. Now, I remember playing Quake. I mean, we all played the original Quake back in the days, flat 2D graphics that pretended to be 3D, and we all loved every second of it because it was like Castle Wolfenstein, and it was like Doom, except it was Quake, right? Quake 3 released on the 360 as a launch title, and I loved Quake 3. But what we've heard, Jamie Moran, is that they are rebooting Quake in the same way that Doom 2016 rebooted one of the greatest franchises in gaming history in Doom. And since the 2016 revival, we've had Doom Eternal, and now on your screen, we have Doom the Dark Ages. I'm here to tell you, ladies and gentlemen, that I am all in on a new Quake, especially if they're going to reboot it and give it the Doom and Wolfenstein reboot treatment, because quite frankly, if there's one company that could do that and do it to great degree, it is Bethesda. Let's get your thoughts on the breaking news, Jamie.
Yeah, I'll say this quickly. I loved Dishonored, the first one. I did not like the sequel.
Okay, we're right there. Yeah.
I don't know why. There was something off about it. I can't put my finger on it. But outside of that, this is exciting. I love Machine Games. They're one of my favorite developers. Those Wolfenstein games they made, like, what a power trip. Like the fact that in the second one, the new Colossus, you can literally sprint down a corridor at some point and literally have a dual wielding sniper rifles. And it doesn't make any sense. Like, why would you do that? But you are playing as BJ Blazkowicz, so like it doesn't really matter, And I love that game. I loved all three of them. Youngblood, not so much, but hey, those other three games were great. And like, look, I've been saying for the longest time that I want a new Quake game. I want Quake to be rebooted in the style of Doom, and it looks like we could get that. I mean, if you look at id Software, they come out with a new Doom game once every 5 years. Like, they have a big enough team. You've got to think they may be making multiple games at the same time, because it looks like they could maybe rotate between Doom and Quake. And like, who knows what they could do with Quake as a sci-fi franchise. It's exciting. And every time we've seen trademarks like this in the past or whatever, the games tend to happen. So like,
yes,
it's an exciting time, and there was a leaked list of Bethesda games, I want to say 2 years ago during the FTC court case, and like that list had a bunch of different games on it, Wolfenstein and all that stuff, Dishonored. So like these games are real, which is really exciting. And the summer showcase is just around the corner. Who knows what's going to happen? Machine Games, they are a huge studio. They made something absolutely brilliant with Indiana Jones, and there's been rumors that they've been making a new Wolfenstein game for about 3 years now. So if they've been making multiple games at the same time, it would kind of be almost time to show it off. And last time there was a Wolfenstein game advertised and announced before the game released. It was around 6 months, and Bethesda tends to do that a lot of the time. So like it's going to be an exciting year for Xbox and Bethesda, because like Bethesda's been on a roll. I don't care what people say about Starfield. Maybe they're just jealous because they can't play it. That seems to be the case in my replies. But like Starfield was fantastic. Indiana Jones was fantastic. They're making a bloody Blade video game, which who knows, maybe we'll see that at some point. But yeah, just the prospect of seeing Wolfenstein come back and Quake maybe getting the Doom treatment, which will be bloody perfect at this point. And I think that Dishonored, I love the first game. I don't know what it was about the second game, but if they can make a third game that's more like the first, that'll get my attention. I'm sure it'll get yours. I'm sure a lot of people in chat maybe feel the same way. Dishonored 2 kind of has this like thing where I feel like a lot of the fan base fell off. There's something about that game. Maybe
you know what? I'm right there with Jamie. I really can't put a finger. Chad, help us out here. Did you like Dishonored 2? I know some people did. For me, I don't know what it was about the second one that it just did not have the same flavor, I guess.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I think it might have been the mission design. Like I think the missions felt too open in the sequel, and you weren't really directed so much in the first game. But I think the second one was just too open and just letting you do too much too freely. And the fact that you could choose between two different characters with two different sets of abilities, I think that maybe threw me off. But the first game, absolutely fantastic. By the way, little anecdote. So there's an achievement in Dishonored, the first one, where if you get through the entire game without killing anyone, you unlock the pacifist achievement. Well, I went through the entire game, and a body I hid fell off a roof and got ate by rats.
Oh no,
Yeah.
that's awful, dude.
Yeah.
Oh my, I would have died.
Close
That
to
is
the end of
not
the
right.
game, and I actually stormed out the house. So I was just like, I'm not doing this ever again. But the great game though. But hey, it's an exciting time. Bethesda, they have so many studios making so many different games. Like it's exciting, and plus, we kind of have an idea that there's going to be a new Indiana Jones game. Indiana Jones did so well out of the gate, contrary to what
Yes.
some people want to say, that Disney got on the phone with Microsoft and wanted to do more.
Yep.
I mean, people love the game critically, commercially. It's done really well, and now it's on more platforms. I assume maybe it'll go to Switch 2 at some point if it can run it. I don't know if it can, but yeah, Bethesda, they're cooking. A lot of cool games coming, and I think maybe in the next year. Yeah, I'll say maybe Summer Showcase 2026. We'll see Quake remake or Quake reboot.
I mean, it's certainly possible. And again, folks, this is breaking news. This just happened to come across my feed, and I think it's very interesting because again, Jamie's onto something. If you look at Bethesda, right, these 4 games on top of Indiana Jones, on top of potentially having the Fallout 3 remastered remake, following on the heels of the Oblivion remake remaster, on top of everything they just launched with, of course, Doom. Man, they're cooking. Indiana Jones came out, sold really well on PlayStation. It's probably going to Switch. It'll sell well on Switch too. There's no doubt about it. And there is a sequel coming because we did learn, and again, this is not official, but we did hear that Disney, like Jamie said, got on the phone with Todd Howard and team and was like, yeah, listen, let's do a trilogy. And I think that is freaking brilliant. So right now, they are hitting on all cylinders. And again, maybe even Prey finds a sequel. That's a cult classic. I played it for about 10 hours. I liked it. I didn't love it. I don't know what it was about it. It was too much like Dishonored 2, which I didn't like. Dishonored 1 loved, but I don't know. But we do have the returning prodigal son, Infinite Umbra. My brother, welcome back. We have a couple of super chats saying that you are in the ghost realm. He's not, folks. He is here for your entertainment. Infinite Umbra, I know that this is the breaking news, and I kind of want to hit you with a two-tiered conversation. And I want to open up with what we talked about while you stepped away for a second, and that is why Xbox next generation hardware. Why would people want that? And then, of course, we're going to get. I'll reread the posting from Timar 222 regarding some trademarks that suggest some big games coming from Bethesda. Let's open up though with the why Xbox next generation hardware.
Well, I mean, outside of a lot of the features that we're talking about returning from like quick resume and things like that, which I'm sure is going to be there next gen. You also have again, I think the fact that it's going to be a fusion type situation where
Yes,
that's the thing, that
a melding of two worlds coming together.
Yeah, that I think is the most. If I'm strictly on a console, and if I'm saying this as if I didn't own a PC, now I have the prospect of essentially having the PC and a console where I'll be able to play not only just Xbox bound games, but I'll also have access to Steam or Epic Games, or whatever storefront and things of that nature, because these are all the things we're hearing. I see no reason not to own an Xbox going forward, especially considering again the ties to the games that I actually prefer. So, but if I'm talking just specifically consoles, right, what reasons to own it? Yeah, the fact that I'll be able to get everything that comes out, essentially, so long as if the access to Steam is available as well as Xbox games itself. Yeah, that's a W right there. I don't know if PlayStation is going to have that. I've talked to a few people that said they suggested they won't have it, and I mean, to me, it's a major reason to own an Xbox, aside from the games that they offer. So yeah, for me, I think it's the big pull of having a fusion option and being able to play all types of games through it. And it probably, just to throw it out there, might not necessarily be looked at or smiled upon, but it might be a case for heavy emulation as well that can be done with the next gen console. I mean, you can do it right now, so there is that option as well. I don't want to throw it out there and get caught by Nintendo, but you know what I mean. It kind of
I mean, listen, those ninjas are always hiding around corners because they go after people. And look, what they're doing currently with Pocket Pair is gross, and they do it because they can. And I do hope that at some point, Pocket Pair does win, because Power World, again, not for me per se. I know that you played it, you enjoyed it. A lot of people enjoyed it. The fact you can't have flying creatures, I mean, come on. Do they own the trademark on flying creatures? I mean, come on. So it's a little ridiculous. So yeah, we watch out for those ninjas. But I mean, again, I do like the thought and theory of this melding of two different worlds. And PC, look, I understand that it's more accessible now than it's ever been. And I don't necessarily know if it's accessible financially for a lot of people, because you can get a decent PC for $700. I'm well aware of that. But I think that if you're going to go, you're probably going to go all the way. And you're going to want at least a 4070, a 4080, maybe even a 4090 if you're going. I don't care about that stuff. Like, that doesn't mean anything to me. But if you give me the ability to have this next generation console, and I've said this before, Umbra, and please, reiterate what I'm about to say. See, like right now, I'm not a Steam customer, right? I'm not an Epic Games Store customer. What I do with Epic Games is every time they give stuff away, I go to my Epic Games Store account and I claim them. So if I ever get the PC or having a device that I can use with the Epic Games Store app, I'll play those games. And maybe not even. But here is the trick, and this is why I think it's going to work for Xbox. I'm a side-scrolling beat 'em up kind of an old school gamer. And if there's one thing that we know about PC gaming, specifically on Steam, is that there are a lot of single and double and even studios of 10 people that make these old school games that will never find their way to console. So right now, I'm not spending money on Steam. And I have no reason to because I have a computer or a PC that does everything I needed to do for the show, right? I can edit, I can make my thumbnails, I can do artwork, I can do the podcast. Everything is great. And I'm never going to be a PC guy. But if this new Xbox allows me to have games and even purchase games on this box via Steam and download them to the Xbox and play them, I now become a Steam customer. And that's why it's a win-win for both Xbox and Microsoft and Steam. Any additional thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, for me, I mean, you just summed up really my thinking on it. Honestly, it's just to me, I just I look at it as an absolute win, just because you get everything you're talking about and possibly more, considering again emulation. I just don't see. I can't see. I'm trying to find like what I could figure out as a negative, and the only thing I can think of would possibly be pricing outside of, but that's that might be predicated a bit on the current climate. But other than that, man, I don't know. I just don't see the reason not to have it. You know what I mean? And I feel like, to me, and the way I look at it, and maybe I'm wrong for looking at it this way, I don't know, to some people's eyes, but if I'm just talking about, if I did not have a PC, I would see having the next gen Xbox, considering it having all those things, as a necessity. I would think it would, if I'm somebody that enjoys the hobby of gaming like this. I feel like if everything we've been speculating on is actually there, the whole implementation of Steam and Steam and Epic and all these different storefronts and whatever, if all of that is freely an option, along with all the gaming goodness that I can imagine from Xbox first party, I just don't see how you couldn't have an Xbox next gen. For me, I think it would have to be necessary, And I know some people will argue, well, I can just get the PlayStation. I don't know. I don't know if PlayStation is going to be offering those same things. But for me, I would have what I would want right here and there. I think I think the argument for this value proposition and only one is made already, to me.
And it's a fair point. Again, obviously when you stepped away, my thing that I keep resting my hat on is I expect the PlayStation 6 to be very powerful, taking nothing away from Sony, Mark Cerny, and what they're going to do with their next console. It is going to be a very powerful console. Here's the problem, though. It is going to be a more powerful PS5. That is what it ultimately is going to be. It's going to be what you have now with a ton more power. They're not doing what Xbox is doing. As the kids like to say, Xbox and PlayStation, they're just not the same. Sorry. And if Xbox pulls off what we just discussed, then it's going to be a place where a lot more people like me exist in this ecosystem. They're gonna be like, I don't want PC, but I'll take that. And that is where the crux of the conversation goes. But Umbra, I want to turn your attention, and I will read it verbatim once again. This comes the way, we got to give credit where credit is due. Tim or Timor 222, and it's at Bogrod or Bogorod 222 on Twitter. And this broke literally right before the show went live. I had it on the back end of the conversation, and I think it's too juicy pause not to talk about. ZeniMax Media has filed new trademarks on May 6th that have been uncovered today for Wolfenstein, Deathloop, Quake, and a new Dishonored. Bro, like I said, Deathloop and Dishonored, I could take it or leave it, and I'll probably leave it. But Quake and Wolfenstein, Wolfenstein, we've been waiting to see what Machine Games is going to bring to the latest iteration, and I imagine it's going to be glorious. But we've been hearing for quite a while. I think a few years ago, we heard about this rumor that they are in the process of remaking Quake from the ground up in the same vein as Doom 2016 and Castle Wolfenstein when it was rebooted. And I say, oh my God, yes. Let's get your thoughts on this breaking news.
Yeah, that's dope. I mean, listen, I like the idea of all of those. Now, as far as Deathloop, I was not the biggest fan of
I
that
said it. Yep, me
necessarily.
either. Nope, not for me.
Yeah, that didn't do it for me. I did like the slick jive talking 70s throwback kind of thing. That was cool. You know, as my brother Dirk Griggity would say, "Who am you, sucker?" I did like that. You know, and it resonated for some clearly because it scored well, right? But it just didn't do it for me. But as far as the other two, absolutely. Again, now I've said this before. We talked about Quake. I don't know if my old eyes will be able to keep up with the frenetic pace of that. You know what I mean? That was one of my things with like that and Unreal Tournament. They have that kind of same pacing thing that might
It's
have
like
me
a
like,
click shooter, like a click
yeah,
first person shooter. It's quick. Yeah.
yeah, it feels like Twitch type, for me, it maybe my old eyes might not be able to keep up with that, but that we don't know. We don't know how they're going to handle Quake, to be fair, right? So, yeah, I think I think the rumor of Quake remake or a reboot of it had been kind of out there for a while. So this is like, I'm not surprised to hear this. I'm more surprised to hear Deathloop, maybe. I think, but this is good. It's good to see, man. This is the beautiful thing. This is what I mean by like how for me, just being a part of the Xbox ecosystem just matters so much now because they have
Yes.
so much as far as in terms of studios and what they can give us. That you just never going at this point. I think you're gonna be lying to yourself if you're like, they're not going to deliver. Like, look at all what we have already just this year. If they can keep this going like that, there is a big if. But I think that they kind of got it. It would feel like down to a science now to have all these games continuously hitting the service like this and hitting the platform. If you're not interested in a service, I just don't see how you couldn't get it. But yeah, for me, those two, I'll tell you what, though. I mean, if we're talking about just those three, sure. What I need to see and what I would love to see, and it's off topic a bit, but it's for Microsoft maybe that they could work something out with Ubisoft to get Splinter Cell. That to me would be something that like, oh, okay, like that's what solidify it for me. But these right here are really cool, and I would say out of the three, I'm excited to hear about all of them, but I would say Quake, and depending on how they take that, does the rumor say anything about who's actually would be working on Quake?
No, there's no rumor to that. The only rumor that I heard coming out of a Quake reboot is the protagonist was going to potentially change from the original. How that changed, I don't know. Are they going? I mean, because again, they kept BJ Blazkowicz the same. They kept Doom Guy the same. I don't really remember. My last Quake experience was Quake 3 on the Xbox 360, and I don't even remember whether it was a male or female protagonist or if that person even had an identity. You know what I'm saying? I don't remember that far ago. Listen, if they're going to go reboot, I say go all the way. And you know what? I mean, this may sound like a little crazy, but instead of making a particular character that you can either cheer or boo, make your character how you want, male, female, and design your character almost like an RPG-esque level design, but let you design. I don't know. Anyone in the chat can help me out here. Does the Quake character even have an identity? Because I don't remember if it does, to be quite honest with you. I don't think so, to be honest. I just thought it was, generic person, whatever.
Well, seeing also, before it was obviously was Ed Tech, right? So I'm gonna guess it'll be Ed Tech, and just seeing their prestige with what they have and what they've delivered, even just with what's on the screen now in Dome, I would imagine that whatever they give us in Quake for the reboot is going to be something phenomenal. I mean, the Ed Tech team, they do what they do, so.
They do what they do.
I wanted to kind of wonder, like, if maybe it was announced somebody else is doing it, But listen, they seem like their slate will be open to, re enter that IP into the masses right there. I can see it tech, since they worked on it before. Why not them again, right? I can see them doing an excellent job with it.
Yeah, no, I absolutely agree. Look, folks, this has been a great show. Obviously, we had a lot of different topics. I am going to dissect this later on this evening into smaller videos that do cover specific points of view in the conversation. I really enjoy doing that, and the community has really responded super well to me doing these smaller, more digestible videos as opposed to a near 2-hour podcast. And I do keep up to date with with the show notes and the timestamps. I do try to keep them exact, but I really enjoy making the smaller content. And actually, we've gotten a lot of new subs. And again, folks, not to go away from the outros, but I do have to ask. We are 81 subscribers away from 16,000 subscribers. That is a super, super big deal. Folks, we have 1,200 people watching this show live, which is madness. We have over 300 people on YouTube, which is great, but we have 911 plus people watching on X or Twitter. And obviously, they may be people that don't actually subscribe to the channel. Folks, do me a favor. And I don't like to ask. Honestly, I don't. We do it the organic way. We're mom and pop, grassroots all the way. But when you get close to a number like 16K or 20K, when you hit that next 1,000, it's a super really big deal for a small content creator like us. And the more that we grow, the more that we actually get invited to do things. And again, we've been already recognized by several of the bigs, Microsoft, Xbox, Bethesda, and a few other devs as well. Obsidian recognizes Double Barrel Gaming. That's a super big deal because those are one of my favorite devs in their roster of developers. And the fact that they've reached out to us before to work with them is bonkers. But with that said, folks, if you're not already subscribed, please help us get to 16K. I would love to get there before the June showcase. That would be something to really kind of, because I'm flying out to LA. I'm going to be helping with the community fan fest that was started by Ben Kenobi and Hargeet Chani. And that's something that if you're going to be in the LA area, listen, we're going to find out where we're going to be. Go to the website, communityfanfest.com, and register for your chance to win one of the tickets. And again, if you do win one of the tickets, you pay nothing, folks. Everything, including refreshments, is going to be free. It's a fan event for the fans, by the fans. And again, it's something that we are very excited to do. But I do want to get us on out of here, but let me just catch up on the last couple of super chats that did pop in here. We have Wolf of Darkness drops a very generous $5 super chat. And he says, Umbra, my friend, are you in the Spectre mode or the spectator mode? Wake up and join the panel. Thanks, Mr. Boomstick, for trying.
He's glad I went to the
of course, when I did read that and earlier, and I did explain that you do work midnight, so we're always thrilled that you are with us on Tuesdays. But sometimes you just, you fall off. That's what happens in life. Do UK now? The Broke Boy Insider drops an additional, very generous $2 super chat, and he goes on to say, Call of Duty players, Xbox just dropped free operator bundle. Oh shit! Really? I have not been back to Call of Duty since Doom, which has been about a week, maybe about 8 days. And I'm definitely tapping the vein because I love Call of Duty. And I know a lot of people don't because of all the wacky operators. I'm not enjoying so much this sub-season because I'm not a weed smoker, folks. I'm just not. I'm an ex-cop. The weed is just not for me. It's fine. I did buy the 1,000 credit one because I do wanted to get the operator of what's his name, the guy with the funny laugh. Oh my god, what is his name? Anyway, you know what I'm talking about. They turned Nuketown into Weed Town. I'm playing through it. It's fine. I'm going to finish it, but I'm not a weed guy, folks. I'm just not. Sorry. But listen, let's get everyone out of here. We'll start first, of course, with Jamie Moran. So, Jamie, you have a show happening later this afternoon, 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Obviously, you and Logan Meyer do an amazing job each and every Tuesday on the All Things Xbox podcast, where you keep it light. You talk about Mass Effect, which of course that's Jamie Moran, folks. If you didn't know, he loves Mass Effect. You talk about Splinter Cell, which we all want. Umber just made mention of it. I think it's a sin that we haven't had him in 2 generations. But you also talk about gaming news. Brother, sell the brand. Where can people subscribe to the Elusive Gamer podcast on a weekly basis on YouTube, and more importantly, follow you on social media?
Yeah, thanks, Boom. It's always a pleasure doing this show with you two guys. So yeah, my YouTube channel is The Elusive Gamer. I exclusively cover Xbox. No fanboy stuff over there. All Things Xbox podcast is on Tuesdays at 6 p.m. Eastern. Tonight we're going to be talking about some Splinter Cell, some Final Fantasy, a bunch of other games that are out. I'm going to also be reviewing The Precinct Live, which is a super fun game. I think people need to check it out. But yeah, at 6 p.m. Eastern, it's going to be fun over there. Chat's always fun. There's never any like fanboys or anything. I also put out a video a couple of days ago of the 20 biggest new games coming out in May. A lot of those games are still yet to come out. I hope people check it out. It's a 18-minute video. Took a while to make. But yeah, that's the Elusive Gamer. And my Twitter is Jamie Moran UK, where it's exclusively gaming and jokes.
Well, we're happy to have you here, brother, and we definitely appreciate your time, and we're looking forward to hear what you guys have to talk about this evening. Again, it's always a fun podcast. They do keep it light, and they talk about games, folks. So if you're into Xbox gaming, check out the All Things Xbox podcast. But of course, not to be outdone, Mr. Unreal Engine 5 himself, Umbra. I saw your write-up of the Expedition 33. You gave it a 10 out of 10. I would imagine this is probably in the running for your game of the year. I have to get back to it. I haven't even gotten past chapter 1. I heard that at the end of chapter 1, it is breathtaking what happens. I'm looking forward to seeing what happened. But we have to talk about where you are on Thursday evening, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, folks. It's a podcast with him and Daniel McGee called The Fix. And in fact, you should be watching that, because not only do they talk about the latest and greatest in the video game news bandwidth, but they also talk about pop culture. And obviously the MCU, even though it's kind of fallen flat a little bit, there is some big news coming out of the Doomsday set, which is expected to have 70 characters, including almost every X-Men from the Fox universe fighting against the Avengers. That sounds dope. I am all in. Sell the brand, brother. Where can people subscribe to The Fix, and more importantly, follow you on social media?
Yes. Always a pleasure being with you two, talking, and chopping it up about games. Shout out to the chat. Thank you all for the love and the jokes. As far as where to find me, of course, Infinite Umbra or Umbra Infinite, you'll find me either way on social media. And as Boom alluded to on The Fix, we'll be returning for sure this week. We didn't have a show last week, unfortunately, but we'll have a bunch of things to cover to make up for both weeks. So definitely tune in this Thursday night at 8 Eastern. Yeah, man, as far as the Expedition 33, I'm still blown away by that. I'm actually in New Game Plus now.
Playing it good for you, dude. Awesome.
Like, I couldn't even think about moving on to something else. I'm like, let me go back into this world, man. It is. I saw some people like mocking the story. We're not mocking necessarily, but belittling it. And they were like, it's nothing to write home about, or nothing to write home about, or whatever. I'm like, this is a phenomenal story. I think it's one of the better stories I've played in any game, personally. And I love the combat and everything, the voice acting. I think they just did a great job. Of course, it's an Unreal. So
I mean, right? That's top marks for you right there.
Absolutely. That's an instant W. But no, it's definitely my game of the year so far. 10 out of 10. I think it's a masterpiece. No spoilers, of course, Thanos, but I will be likely discussing it on The Fix this week. Maybe I'll try not to do a spoiler discussion, but
you can dance around it and still give your thoughts.
Yeah, I'll dance around it a bit. I'll make some allusions, but I won't say anything specific that'll ruin it for anybody. But and I'll wait for that. I feel like I want to have a roundtable discussion for it on the fix. I might do that too, just to iron it out and get everyone's thoughts, because I think it's that damn good, honestly, and I think it deserves a real solid discussion. But yeah, I mean, we'll be talking about a bunch of things this week. Of course, we had unfortunately news of Microsoft layoffs. We're going to be talking about that. We're going to be talking about the backlash from WWE. Definitely some of the news that we missed last week, things of that nature. I might try to get a guest on too. I'm not too sure one way or another, or we might do the solo dolo that we've typically been doing. But yeah, come by. I put the link in the chat if you all have not subscribed or please, or come by yet, please consider doing so.
Well, certainly appreciate you being here, brother. Thank you, gentlemen, for, of course, joining me every Tuesday. Big thank you to, well over 1,200 people watching live. That's a really big deal, even though, of course, we want to see a lot of views go to the way of YouTube because those numbers count. Twitter, not so much. But we appreciate anyone that tunes in, regardless of wherever you tune in from. And I do ask, and I know people get angry that when you ask for people to sub, and some people get actually like really bent out of shape that you're asking for a sub. Folks, that's what you do. If you like the content, we would appreciate if you did subscribe to the channel and you did help us get to 16K, because after 16 is 17, eventually 20, 25, 50, and maybe even 100,000, which I don't necessarily think we're ever going to get to. But listen, we put the effort in. We do 5 live shows a week. And whenever there's big breaking news, I stop whatever I'm doing and I jump on the stream and we have a good time talking about it. Not many podcasters actually do that. And I do that because I can, because I'm retired. So I have the ability to drop what I'm doing at a dime and do a live stream. And I really enjoy doing that because I like hanging out with you fine folks. But do you okay now? The broke boy insider had said, and I think this is a joke he's referring to, after dropping a very generous $2 super chat, can't wait for the next box. And I maybe that's what it is, Will. And if it did, it flew over my mohawk. But he did drop an additional $2 super chat and says, I think you missed my $2 super chat explaining the joke. Probably. But listen, Will, thank you so much for the support, brother. We super appreciate it. But ladies and gentlemen, that's going to do it for us here. I want to say a big thank you to all of the super chats and the gifted memberships and the channel member chats that continue to help the channel behind the scenes on a monthly basis. Mrs. Boom and I are incredibly grateful for that support, because it does go a long way in regards to the giveaways that we do. And we've done some pretty big ones, as well as keep the channel up and running with its programs and its equipment. All that costs money, and we can't do any of that without the generosity of this amazing chat. So thank you so much. And of course, I'm going to close out the show with something that's incredibly important to me, ladies and gentlemen. Hopefully one day it'll be important to you. And that's something that my dad taught us when we were kids. And he would say, Craig, treat others how you want to be treated. And also, it doesn't cost anything to be nice. You live by those rules, son. I can guarantee you're going to have an awesome day. So take care, everyone. And we'll see you next week on the newest episode of the Xbox Factor Podcast.